Hey guys!
I'm Wendy.
And I'm Mercy.
And we are
Melanin'S Voice.
I can't
So I just want to start off by thanking you all for subscribing to our
Thank you,
channel.
subscribers.
Yes, we really do appreciate you. It's going to give us a lot of support and encouragement to continue doing what we're doing.
Definitely.
So we just wanted to come at you guys today with this topic of embracing your African roots. Now we feel this is a particularly important issue that needs to be discussed. Obviously we might not get through all the points, but we're basically just going to start off by sharing our experiences and then perhaps possibly some encouragement for you
some
guys.
words of encouragement. Yeah, obviously this whole embracing your African roots is a process, so because you go from being ashamed to actually accepting all of your everything about your roots. So how did it all start for you? Like, what made you feel ashamed of your Nigerian roots? And just talk about it.
Okay, well, for me, being like African wasn't so much of an issue. Like, it wasn't so much of an issue, and that's simply because I was always surrounded by Africans. I grew up in an area where there were Africans everywhere, in the church, in the community, Africans, bus drivers, Africans with shops, literally Africans everywhere. So seeing that around wasn't really, it didn't really add to me being ashamed. I would say what added to that was not wanting to be a particular type of African. So there was this stigma that being 100% like Nigerian or being 100% something and something was kind of fresh. You didn't want to be associated with being a pure African, because then it would seem like, okay, you've just jumped off from the boat and you're just here. Like, you didn't really want to be seen that way. So people would tend to want to be Jamaicans or Caribbeans in general.
Why that country? Like, why just that?
I don't know.
Jamaica?
I feel like there's just this buzz in London.
Jamaica.
In London in general, you've just got that thing where most people kind of are attracted to that Jamaican culture. So I have no reason why, but I do remember early 2000s there were a lot of people in primary school who would say, I'm a third Jamaican, or I'm a quarter Jamaican.
Like, how do they actually calculate the exact percentage of heritage? Like, can you imagine? Oh my God, that's weird.
I mean, so we just went through that stage of not wanting to accept being 100% Nigerian and wanting to be kind of exotic, kind of tropical, and to be Caribbean or something, different and exotic, not like pure African. Yeah.
Okay. Well, for me, it was completely like a completely different story. Obviously, you were born in London, so you were used to that kind of to see African people. I was born in Italy, and it's not that I was completely let's say, it's not that I haven't seen any African person, but I grew up in a white neighborhood. So me and my parents and my brothers, we were the only black people there. So I was used to seeing white people basically. And this whole being ashamed of my Nigerian roots started, did I just say Nigeria? Okay.
Yeah. She forgot now.
So this whole thing started because going to school, I just see all of my friends, my girlfriends, I'll just see them with their beautiful hair, and every time I would like to be like them. So that's how it just started. I just wanted to be like them. So I just hated everything that was African in me and everything that was African around me. So I just didn't want to know. I just didn't care about Nigeria, the tradition, the culture. I was just focusing on being part of Italian culture. I just wanted to be Italian by all means. Physically, internally, I just wanted to be Italian. That's how it started for me. And yeah, so yeah.
Okay, so speak to us about like internalizing the stigma.
Oh yeah, obviously, yeah. Internal, like I this whole being ashamed of my African roots or my Nigerian roots was also caused by the fact that I was internalizing a stigma. So there was this idea, and there's still this idea, that African people in general, black people, particularly Nigerian people, because you know where I come from, there's a lot of Nigerian population.
Nigerians
so
everywhere.
Nigerians are everywhere, literally everywhere. So yeah, there's this idea that they're too loud, they're always involved in drug dealing, they're always, you know, they're robbers, they do a lot of you know,
just everything bad.
Basically, Nigeria was associated to bad things, and there was the stigma, and I began to internalize the stigma. I would just hear people stealing, people fighting in town, Nigerian people, and I would just think,
they're always quick to mention the African.
So basically being ashamed also was caused by me internalizing the stigma. And to be honest, I wasn't the only one affected, because I believe, like, my father used to tell me that the reason why he actually decided to move away from the town, it was because he didn't want to be part of that stigma. He didn't want to associate himself to those ideas. So he just wanted to show that he's different. Like, so I wasn't the only one affected. It was my dad and my family in general.
And I feel like in we have this thing in secondary school in London as well, when someone black doesn't do things which are considered black, they get called an Oreo. Yeah. So like, you're black but you're white inside. Yeah. So I don't know why we do this. I don't know.
I honestly don't understand. And this whole thing, being ashamed of being Nigerian, being ashamed of being African in general, obviously has some effects which are like not to be underestimated, because for me, I was under a lot of pressure, because I was living like a double life. At home, I would just be African Wendy, in the sense that I'll be at home with my parents, you know, observing the traditions, their culture, their morals and all that. But then at school, out with my friends, I'll just be a completely different person. I'll just be a different person in the sense that I'll just try my best to be white and just completely move away from being Nigerian. So I was living this double life, and obviously I was feeling under pressure, and I began to have a self-esteem issues, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like the effects of it, particularly like in London and stuff, it causes people to be lost with who they are, lost about their heritage, confused about their background. And I found this particularly in situations where people will ask me, where are you from? And I wouldn't know what to respond. Even till now, sometimes, I mean, I'm guilty of that. People say, where are you from? And I'll kind of hesitate, because I don't know whether I should say I'm from Nigeria or whatever, but then technically I've never lived there, so I don't know much about it.
Yeah, it's the same thing with me. Like, I don't know if I should say, oh, I'm Italian, or I'm Nigerian, or I'm Italian but I'm Nigerian as well. Like, I don't really know what to say.
So
and then
this confusion, loss of identity is a really big issue, and actually, if not dealt with, it does lead to some people developing a mental illness. And a lot of people don't think black people can have mental illness,
which is another story. But like, it's all connected. Like, if you like, this whole being ashamed puts you under pressure. Like, from experience, I can tell you just can't deal with it. It's just too much for you to handle. You don't know what to say. You're confused. You just have a misconception of your identity, and you're just completely lost. And it's dangerous because not being able to accept your heritage is. Like, how can you not accept that part of you? You need to, like, if you want to accept yourself, you have to be ready to accept the whole of it. Like, accept everything. Everything. Even your heritage, every single thing. So you just can't live that way. And then obviously, because it's a process, there's a turning point. So what was your turning point? What made you change? What made you think, oh, it's actually time for me to start embracing?
Okay, well, for me, I would say that kind of happened. It was kind of like a gradual process, and I think it happened when I started to relate more and more with people who were kind of like me. So relate more and more with African people of my age and stuff. So I was exposed to this through church, but I would say most importantly from school, I went to a predominantly like African black school. We were in the majority by far.
Wow.
If you're from STP, shout out to all my STP. I'm joking.
Alright. But that was good actually. I wish I had that.
So I feel like what we did is we just came together, we shared our experiences together, and we kind of bonded. And we just kind of encouraged each other and grew together. And seeing other people who were just like me, it's suddenly I was no longer like on the outside. So
you weren't excluded anymore.
So meeting more people who were actually, you know, Nigerians or Ghanaians or just, you know, South Africans, you know, just meeting different types of African people in school. Because obviously in primary school it was just the kind of black people I would have were like mixed. So they were like, again, Caribbean, no offense guys, and you know, wanted to be Caribbean. But yeah, being exposed to people who were just like me and relating with them kind of helped me to kind of break out of that. And we all kind of wanted to be in touch with our heritage.
For me, I there wasn't a particular turning point for me. I just grew up, you know, there wasn't anything specific that made me change my mind. But what I can say is that, relating to someone who's like you is really important, because there was a time where I started hanging out with my cousins who are not even proper Nigerian, but they're like mixed. So I started to hang out with them every time, like more than usual. And we just get together, talk about our culture, you know, Nigeria in general, and then we would just bond on that. So that obviously, hanging out with my cousins obviously helped me a lot. And so basically that's how I started my transition. That's how I moved to embracing my, and obviously, to be honest, moving to Scotland helped me a lot as well, because that's where I started seeing different other cultures, you know, African, I don't know, North African, South Africans, you know, different all types of Africans,
especially in university.
So that's why I was like, when I moved to Scotland, I was like, oh, okay, like it's good to be African.
It's good to be African. It's true. I feel like I met a lot of like real Africans in uni, because obviously growing up, every African person was like British. But I met a lot of real Africans, and it's nice to also learn from them as well. And
then the great lesson, like the best lesson out of this is that there's nothing to be ashamed of. Like accepting your heritage, your African roots, your Nigerian roots, everything African in you is just amazing. It doesn't. It's just beautiful. Like I don't mind doing the African things. I don't know. You know, I don't mind doing things that are part of Nigerian tradition, Nigerian culture. I'm totally fine with it now. It took me like a lot to accept who I am now, and it's amazing. It's amazing, guys. Like, there's nothing to be ashamed of.
Even now, I mean, there are situations you may find yourself in that could kind of tempt you to perhaps draw back and go back to the stage which you were before. So like, for example, today we were on our way to Subway, and this guy
we were talking and then this guy just came to us and it was like, you guys are too loud. Why are you guys too loud? And I was ready for him. Like, it's just because I was hungry and I wanted to go and get a sub, but I was ready for the guy. I was ready. Like, Glasgow was gonna hear all of it. Like, honestly, I just hate that, because these are the kind of things that make you take a step back and go back to square one.
Internalize
that because that guy was just judging us from the way we were talking, and we weren't even that loud, to be honest. We were just having a perfectly
it's just that thing, like,
conversation.
they're black and I can hear the conversation. Yeah. So let me just tell them off. So things like that, in the past, that would have had a like serious effect. We would have gone home and felt, oh no,
I don't want to be part of all
I don't want to be,
yeah.
you know, like that. You know, trying to curtail yourself. You know, obviously there are situations where, of course, you shouldn't be too loud. But I mean, we were under a bridge.
Yeah, and also, like, it's not just episodes like this, but even when you hear in the news stuff that black people, African people, like for me, like when I was in Italy, like there was a time where we had like a refugee crisis, and obviously the stigma about black people was just being even more common. Like a lot of people a lot of people believed like black people are just bad, blah blah blah. So I would see in the news refugees protesting, being angry and all that, and then people, the media, the people in general would just be judging these people and, you know, making negative comments about these people, and that kind of thing just made me to take a step back and be like, okay, let me just get away from this.
So I feel like once you've had your transition, you need to keep in mind that you're still gonna face obstacles every day. You're still gonna face situations where you may feel like taking a step back and reclining and not wanting to be African. Yeah. But it's part of who you are. You can't run away from it. So
also when people talk about self-love is not just about accepting your physical appearance, but it's also it includes accepting your heritage, your roots, your African roots. So yeah, guys, for those of you who are feeling ashamed of their roots, of their African culture and all that, what I would say is, first of all, don't isolate yourself. Definitely. Because that's like the worst, I think, because you're not alone. There are other people who are feeling the same way. So it's good, you need to talk about it, and then you just meet other people who have the same issue, and then you just bond with that, and then you learn little by little, step by step,
when you're connecting with others.
Exactly. And then you know how to embrace your roots.
At that point when you stop running away from like yourself and you stop running away from others who are just like you, you begin to accept it, and it suddenly doesn't feel alien. So I feel
and then another thing, don't internalize stigmas. Like, don't fall into that trap.
Just because someone says black people do this doesn't mean you have to do that.
You don't have to.
And don't feel bad if you don't do what black people are supposed to do.
Like everybody is different. So if you hear people saying black people are drug dealers or whatever, they're just too loud, blah blah blah, just don't feel part of it. Just don't listen to whatever they're saying. You are you. You're gonna do you. So
I feel like especially when people are like, oh, black people are supposed to dress this certain way, like you're supposed to talk a certain way, you're not black enough, you're sounding too white. Don't
internalize the stigma.
Just do you, because I feel like when you're trying to battle with what society wants you to be, that is hard.
That's how it all begins, because if you accept the stigma, you internalize the stigma, and then you follow all these rules.
You're trying to conform
to
what is.
That's how it all starts. You start this process of being ashamed, and then you end up being under pressure, and then you just can't get out of it. You just end up being lost. So these are basically our words of encouragement. I really enjoyed having this conversation honestly, because I've dealt with this issue for a long time, and if I had people, you know, talking to me about this, in the, you know, I feel like it would have been different. Like,
it's always nice to have that older sibling or that somebody that you look to, like hopefully some people look to us.
Please
but it's always nice to have someone like that you can relate with,
definitely,
who has been through something and can come out of it and give you some advice and stuff.
So basically that's it, guys, for today. We hope this video is gonna be a good, you know, and encouragement.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Hope you found it interesting.
Exactly.
Please leave us a like, comment,
share, subscribe.
Yes.
Remember to share it to everybody you know, your family. You know what you do. Know what to do. Subscribe.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Something special is happening. We're gonna be vlogging.
Something exciting. Yeah, we're gonna be vlogging, which is like our first time vlogging. Yeah. So I'm excited.
Woo.
I'm excited.
And if you want to see what's gonna be in this very special vlog, then vlog.
Then you need to subscribe. Yeah, definitely.
So I'm putting the notification link on so that you can be notified when we post.